All right.
Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in.
Yes, it does feel like the market's just trying to one-up each other.
Yeah, it does. I mean, oh my Garrus, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Hey, Gemma. Hey, old man Garrus. Hey, Harper. How you guys doing tonight? Welcome in. Thank you guys for joining us again. As always, episode 24?
Yes, episode 24.
Okay. Episode 24. All right. Episode 24 of the update log, not counting our special guest episodes, obviously. But yeah, welcome in, guys. Thank you guys for coming in.
The
As
Empire's
always.
pretty chill. Maybe you could like
Wow,
join
Gemma,
it or
thank you
something.
for
Thank you very much, Gemma.
for the resub. Much appreciated.
4 months. Awesome.
Yeah, 4 months. Yeah. I think she's been with us almost as long as we've been doing this shit.
Pretty close.
Yeah. Again, welcome to episode 24 of the Update Log. I'm Rob, your host, and with me, as always, are my two co-hosts, Greg and Matt. And yeah, today we are going. It's a bit of a continuation of, I believe it was last week's episode, kind of the state of the industry. It just seems like the shit just keeps rolling. More things keep coming out. More shit just keeps rolling downhill. So to start it off, so for those of you who may have been following, for I'd say the last 6 months to a year, if not longer, not counting like the backroom wheeling and dealing that goes on at this high level. But the acquisition of Activision Blizzard by Microsoft has finally gone through. It is official. Microsoft now owns Activision Blizzard. They own. There's another company that came through with that acquisition called King, I believe, and that is their mobile platform. So a lot of mobile games came over, like Candy Crush. But yeah, Microsoft's picked up the Modern Warfare IP, I believe, or the Call of Duty Warfare IP. Which is it? I can't remember. Can't hear you, Matt, by the way.
Oh, right. Sorry
muted.
about that. Yeah. So, yeah, Modern Warfare is part of the Call of Duty brand.
Okay.
They have like Modern Warfare, they have Black Ops, they have a couple different like subdivisions of Call of Duty.
Shows how much
there's like 3 different development teams that work on those games.
Yeah, so they got that. They have the Diablo franchise. They have World of Warcraft. They have everything, all that. Now is there goes Matt. All of that is now under Microsoft.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Yeah, you kind of dropped out for a little bit there.
Did I? Oh my. Okay. So as I was saying, yeah, Microsoft is really starting to kind of dominate the games industry here in America, because they've gotten some big heavy hitters. Like before there was the Bethesda acquisition, and like honestly, that's like almost small peanuts compared to the Activision Blizzard, because Activision Blizzard is massive. You can say all you want about how it is in its current state. It's definitely lost a lot of its good reputation, but it's still a money making machine nonetheless.
Old man Garrus with the jokes, but he's not wrong though.
Microsoft's new theme song, "We Are the World." I mean, that's what they're going towards. Like honestly, they've I know Microsoft, like, if I recall, I'm pretty sure I saw something about this a while back, where they tried to approach Nintendo about acquiring them, which, of course, Nintendo gave them a big fat no. But yeah, Microsoft they're going for everyone they can.
Yep. They're going for everybody.
Yeah, like they're the biggest block that they had before the acquisition, because for a bit, the FTC here in America was blocking it, but they managed to get around that. Then the most recent block that they just got over was UK's what was that called? The CMA. It's kind of like their version of the UK's version of the FTC.
What? The Country Music Awards?
Yeah, the country musicians not happy about this acquisition, but no. Apparently, the CMA was able to get make some alterations to the nature of that deal. I'm not entirely sure if the nature of those changes has been made public or not, though. I haven't heard anyone talk about that.
Yeah. So that's going on. Yeah, Blizzard Activision is finally now under the Microsoft umbrella. Our good friends at WotC, which is the coast, are also adding to fuel to the fire of what's been going on. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about tonight.
Yeah.
So where do we
I'll
start?
Oh, we start with Matt coming back to the show. That's where we start.
Oh, well, he got booted this time, so that's all right. We'll give him a minute to come back. There he is.
Oh, give me actually 1 second. I'll be right back.
There you are.
I'm gonna punch Streamlabs in the schnoz. Anyway, so, a big part that has quite a few people kind of like cheering when it comes to the acquisition of Activision Blizzard is that Bobby Kotick, the CEO of Activision Blizzard, not exactly the most liked guy in the industry, he's gonna be out.
Bobby Kotick.
Yeah, he's gonna be acting CEO until the end of the year, essentially, when they find a replacement for him.
Yeah.
Now, of course, he's gonna get his whole golden parachute. You know, he's coming out of this with a lot of money, and
I think to the tune of $400 million.
That doesn't surprise me. Bobby Kotick has always found
Are you-
ways to pay himself.
Are you
a
telling me
lot of money.
you don't feel bad for him? He just got fired. Well, sort of.
My pity
Yes,
for the
he
man
got
has
severance pay.
run well dry at this point.
Yeah.
So he's out.
He
Which
got
good.
the you're fired at the end of the year.
Yeah, as one of my old professors in college used to say, and just keep in mind this gentleman was a brigadier general in the army. The milk of human kindness does not run down these cheeks. And for those of you who don't know, the milk of human kindness is tears. I don't give a shit about Bobby Kotick and the $400 million that he made off the back of everybody's hard work, driving a beloved IP into the fucking dirt.
Many.
Honestly, I think him and what's his face, John Riccatello, kind of seems like they were in cahoots. Seems like they're going on vacation together.
They do seem like they're kind of cut from the same cloth.
Sipping margaritas in the Bahamas right about now.
But I guess we can discuss like what we think this means for Activision Blizzard now that Bobby Kotick is out of the picture. Like, I mean, I kind of assume hear what you guys think. Like, do you think that this could be a sign of Activision Blizzard improving, or are you kind of just waiting to see if that even happens yet?
You waiting to see if Activision Blizzard improves? I guess
that skeleton meme.
I guess
skeleton still waiting.
Yeah, well, exactly, and I think a lot of that has to really hinge on, is it a good thing that Microsoft bought them?
See, that's the thing. I'm not
depends
sure.
on who you ask.
Because, like, here's the thing. Because obviously, a lot of people are hoping that the company will improve and stop being, well, Activision Blizzard.
Well, look at what happened.
Kotick.
Look at what happened to Bethesda after Microsoft bought them.
I was actually going to pull that. I was actually going to make that very point because, I mean, we were all paying attention to that back in the day when we still played Elder Scrolls Online. You know, we were kind of unhappy with the way Bethesda, or rather ZeniMax, their parent company, have been running things. And when the acquisition happened, we had a lot of people saying, "Well, maybe they're going to fix fix everything that's been pissing us off." And well,
Nope.
nothing really changed. And
Nope.
so
It's more the
that's
same.
honestly that's kind of the attitude I'm taking with the Activision Blizzard. Even if
Mm.
even if Bobby Kotick is out, a lot of the same leadership is still in play. So it's
Not
hard
much
to
is gonna
say
change.
it's hard to say how much is even going to change, or if now that Microsoft has Activision Blizzard, they're going to be like, okay, we have you now. Just keep doing your thing, and just keep that money coming to us. Because
Well,
Music-
and here's the thing. There's one thing that will change. If Microsoft is smart, they're going to take World of Warcraft, they're going to put that on the Battle Pass. You want to know why? A super influx of players into the game, and it wouldn't cost them much, if anything, to do so. Because Game Pass, Game Pass, not a Battle
Game
Pass.
Pass,
Game Pass
yeah.
is what, $30 a month?
I haven't
Man, look
kept
that.
up too much with their pricing model, but I mean, it is a subscription-based service, which World of Warcraft also is. Well, honestly, World of Warcraft is every pricing model put into one. You buy it
Okay,
up front, you pay a subscription, they're microtransactions. They got everything in that game.
it is
$9.99.
It's $9.99 or $16.99 if you want like the ultimate package. I don't know the difference. Don't give a shit. But it's not so. Current subscribers of World of Warcraft will save about $5, and they'll have access to all the Game Pass catalog. But I will tell you now, ain't shit gonna change.
I highly doubt it because Activision Blizzard's they
Exactly.
everything
I
they
agree
do
with
is
you, Garrus.
very highly monetized. So they're bringing in lots of money, even despite all the negative PR they've gotten. Even if they have lost a lot of players, they're still making more money off of the ones that have, remained.
Oh yeah.
And so that's probably one of the reasons why Microsoft fought so hard for Activision Blizzard, despite all the blocks and having to pay up so much money for that deal, because they know that Activision Blizzard they rake in
It's
a
a cash.
lot of cash.
Yeah, it's
They
a cash
wanted
cow
that.
for them. And the reason why I see them putting it on Game Pass again, it's not going to cost them anything. And for anyone who doesn't play World of Warcraft yet, now they have an excuse. They already have, especially if they have Game Pass. Hey, I got Game Pass. This is on the catalog. Let me go download it. Check it out. And this leads into my next point, where World of Warcraft is going to end up on console. Guarantee that. Give it about a year or two, if not sooner, because I would bet money. Pretty sure I have a good chance of winning my money on this. That Microsoft has probably been working on a port for World of Warcraft to console during this entire thing.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. I mean, we already know that Elder Scrolls Online also has
Elder Scrolls
console version.
Online, Final Fantasy 14. Those games have already shown that you can take an MMO and slap it to a console, and it translates just fine. But what old man Garrett said is that he agrees very little is going to change. Microsoft bought it as a moneymaker by now being able to make money from their competitor Sony, which, yeah, that's 100% true, for the games and by adding it to the Game Pass. Yep. And therefore increasing the value of it and raising the price of monthly Game Pass for the extra value. That I didn't think of, Garrus, but that is a very good point. They might actually, they might raise it to a full $15 a month, like base price. And yeah, Diablo 4 is already on Steam, discounted at 25% off. And and that's how Microsoft's going to make their money and get the games out of EA proprietary client and put it on Steam. Yeah. Yep. I completely agree. That's how they're going to fight back.
There's the example of what Microsoft is going to do is very clear. Microsoft has since the very beginning it's a company that's been built off of monetizing other people's products all the way from the Windows system from the very beginning.
Okay, stole that shit.
Right. Well, they bought it, but I mean, it's.
But it wasn't his. Like,
Stole
it wasn't
it
his.
with money.
It
He
wasn't
sold
his
it with
thing. Like
money.
everyone seems to think, like he came up with the Microsoft thing. No, he did not.
Well, no. What is their thing? Some of the cheese ass stuff that they've developed. I mean, okay. There are some things that definitely belong to Microsoft at this point. But a lot of that stuff it's all complementary to their profit model more than anything else. And let's talk about Mrs. Bob.
Yeah. Microsoft is.
But that's in Windows ME, yeah. That's the thing with Microsoft is they are very good at one thing, making money, and that's I'm not saying that the products are garbage. They're very good at acquiring good products too. But the perfect example of the direction that they take these companies in. Okay, so the purchase of Bethesda, all right, picked up ESO. Nothing really changed.
Skyrim, the whole Skyrim,
Fallout.
Right. Well,
yeah.
That's where I was going. But I mean, the ESO piece for the MMO for ESO, you're right. Bethesda was already heavily monetizing that platform. Microsoft just kind of continued down that path. And Microsoft added their leveraging capabilities to it through Steam, giving the weekend passes and allowing people to play with the crafting bag and all this other stuff to hook them into the game, and their subscription base started to grow again. So ESO was still a very robust platform. Now, the example that I want to point out is not ESO. It's Fallout 76.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
That platform, which was
can of worms.
Well, exactly, and it was something that talking about monetizing a franchise. The Fallout franchise was and has been a very good franchise all the way through until you hit 76. I'm not saying that 76 is bad at all, but 76 is heavily monetized. Heavily. Right from the very beginning.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it has a very similar trend of Elder Scrolls Online, where Bethesda...
Vista.
Bethesda, one of the things that their online shops for their games criticize for is that everything is very overpriced. And, I mean, think about it. Bethesda, they're the horse armor guys, They're one of the OGs when it comes to like essentially microtransactions in like mainstream video games. So it kind of makes sense that this is where they are now, where everything is heavily monetized. Like, I mean, it makes me wonder, what is the next, what is Elder Scrolls 6 gonna look like? What is Fallout 5 gonna look like?
Well, thanks to the this situation with the acquisition of Blizzard Activision, apparently a lot of that was leaked because due to the court cases and documents that had to be presented. So apparently, Elder Scrolls 6 is in the works, but it's probably not going to be for another 2 or 3 years.
We've seen we saw a teaser for that so many years ago.
Yeah. But apparently in that roadmap for the next, I think it was the next 5 plus years, was Fallout 5, was Elder Scrolls 6, and some subsequent expansions to the Elder Scrolls games.
Here's the thing about that when it comes to Bethesda, unless Microsoft is forcing an engine change, it should not take Bethesda 5 years, 10 years to get a game to market. They've been regurgitating the same engine now for however long they've been in
for quite a while, at least 10 years.
And that's what is all their games are just a fresh coat of paint on the same old engine All of them. Frame rate 60, same. Honestly, and I'm a big. I love the Fallout series, the Skyrim series, but they're basically just putting a fresh coat of paint on the same old piece of shit over and over and over again. And you look at all the games play the same way. You know what I mean? They have all the same issues. It's just like, come on, guys.
They're definitely due for an engine update. Like that's for sure. Because they've like Skyrim was made by using the same engine that Morrowind was.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an old
Morrowind was made in late 90s, I want to say.
Late 90s. Skyrim came out in 2011. Almost crazy when you think that it's been a decade since the last like Elder Scrolls game.
Not even that long ago. Initial release for Elder Scrolls Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind was in 2002.
2002. Okay, so it's 9 years between. I know that. So we had Morrowind, Oblivion, and then Skyrim, and that all takes place within like 9 years of releases. 12 years later, and there hasn't been another main release since then.
Yeah,
well, not that they haven't done nothing. You know, there's been Fallout 4, Fallout 76, Elder Scrolls Online. Like they have been making things, but just it's been a long time since we've gotten the part of the main Elder Scrolls series. While they just re-release Skyrim on everything it can. Like I'm pretty sure, you know, a coffee machine can have Skyrim on it.
Well, I think Bethesda got caught up in the whole MMO piece because their first venture into MMOs was with ESO. And the partnership they created there to be able to launch that game. I think that was majorly challenging for them because they were doing something that they definitely were not used to doing. The good thing for them is that it took off well. Not at the beginning. I don't know if you guys remember the beta for ESO. I actually started playing during the beta and I stopped because
the game did not launch.
No, it sucked.
It was pretty bad. Yeah, it's pretty trash.
But I mean, they did turn that around and they made a pretty good game out of it. And for several years, it actually was. And I'm not saying it's a bad game. You know, go play the game. The whole problem I have out of it is that it is literally one opportunity after another for them to stick their hand in your pocket. That's all it is at this point, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I mean they definitely. Again, like I've talked about plenty of times before, the way Elder Scrolls Online had baked in problems with its design so that they could sell you the solution as part of their subscription service. And yeah, that's what really makes me worry about Elder Scrolls 6 and Fallout 5, the next like games that come from the company, because they're proven that, you know, their priorities are shifting, much like we've seen from Activision Blizzard in the past. There's a shift of priority from, you know, just making the best game you possibly can to still making something of a good game, but leaving intentional flaws in the design so that they can sell you something to fix it.
And it gets even uglier than that because they use their modding community to fix it. And then when they got a fix, they added the fix into the game and gave no credit to the modding community. No nothing. They basically took what the modding community developed that the players liked and said, "Oh, the players like this, so we'll add it to the game and charge them for it." Mm-hmm. And then your modders are basically just left hanging out there.
Yep.
You know,
I mean, World of Warcraft did the same shit in certain instances too. Yeah.
It's
credit.
I mean, well, that's the thing is, I mean, at the very least, you know, incentivize these people to fix your game if that's what you're going to do.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Give them some recognition or pay them something, you know? Shit.
Well, and it also was problematic for I don't know about you guys, but I mean, the last probably couple of years I was playing that game, it was annoying as hell how many times I had to re-download the game or refresh the game or update the game. And then I liked the mods that I had, and every time I updated the game, the mods wouldn't work.
Wait.
It's like,
Had to wait like a week. Wouldn't work, and you have to like like make sure that all of your add-ons are up to date with the new version, and hope that the add-on creators keep them up to date.
Decided to update them. Yeah,
it's a lot of extra pain for like just like come on.
For nothing.
I mean, World of Warcraft does the same thing. You know, there are a lot of add-ons that people make to help improve just the quality of life, and it's almost like once you get a lot of the good ones in, it's like night and day.
Yeah,
you know, it's a night and day experience for the game.
But yeah, I mean, so there is that. Now Microsoft has Activision Blizzard, and we'll see what comes of that that union.
The most unholy of unions.
Yeah, probably. But switching gears, we're moving over to Epic Games. Yeah, Epic Games. So kind of ironic considering we were singing their praises a couple of episodes ago, and you know, with regards to the Unity situation and how Epic Games as a company, in Unreal Engine, their game engine, was on the better side of the line in terms of how they treated their the developers that worked with their engine, both in-house and, you know, game creators that were using Unreal Engine and whatnot, and the marketplace and ecosystem of Epic Games. However, apparently, Epic Games is going metaverse. After the layoffs, I think it was about 16% of their workforce was laid off within the last couple of weeks. And Tim Sweeney, the CEO and chairman, seems like he is trying to push for a ecosystem akin to the failed Facebook metaverse, where everything that is, you know, Epic Games related can and will be done through their shops.
Yeah, and
I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, I can see them make honestly this move kind of makes sense for them. It makes sense as in it seems in character for them. Because I mean, one big difference between like Unreal and Unity is that Unreal is just one part of Epic Games. Epic Games is big. Like they have the engine, they have a full-on games marketplace like Steam. They have, you know, industry giant games like Fortnite. They got a lot under their belt, and this metaverse move is probably a way to try to almost consolidate everything and make it all tied together within this metaverse.
Yeah,
so that
and no, go ahead, Matt.
Because like the way Facebook wanted to do the metaverse is like this is your one-stop. This is like your one-stop shop for everything. You know, you do your business in here, you do social media here, you do games in here, and everything. That's what Mark Zuckerberg wanted from the metaverse. Just everything is in here now. Which, considering how much is under Epic Games umbrella, seems like they kind of want to do that same thing. Whether they'll be successful, we'll see about that. Big thing with metaverse that I've seen is that it really doesn't offer much to the users. Like, you know, be like us, the players, or for Facebook's case, just everyone, the users of the site, stuff like that. What does it offer us?
Nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And I've heard like one of the arguments, and funny that this is an argument that NFTs actually used back in the day, where like, you know, a skin from one game, like say you have a weapon skin on a gun from one game, you could transfer that over to another game, like that.
Wow. Streamlabs, behave yourself. Just a moment, and I will have them back. All right, Rob, welcome back.
Welcome back. Looks like Streamlabs being an asshole again.
Yes. There we are. Welcome back.
All right.
All
Streamlabs
right.
really acting up today, huh? Actually, lately it's been acting
Yeah, the
up
last
quite
couple
a bit.
fucking episodes, yeah.
Yeah. So, as I was saying, this whole idea about transferring weapon skins from game to game, it's just as unreasonable as it was when the NFTs were saying that they could do that, because that requires work from the developers for these very different games to incorporate these very compatible systems that can handle that kind of transfer of data for the skin to skin, like from one game to a completely different game. They have to transfer that skin over and make sure it's compatible and all that stuff. But it's like, how much of a pain is that? And like, how many games do you think are honestly going to employ such a system? Because that's development time,
Right.
and especially for games that may work very differently. Maybe the way that they have their code set up for how something as simple as, say, a weapon skin works could be very different. Trying to bridge that compatibility it just doesn't seem like a thing hardly any games would do unless they share such incredible similarities as this. Sort of like how say a lot of Ubisoft games follow that very similar formula to their gameplay and the way everything is constructed. But if it's completely different games, completely different developers, all that type of stuff, I mean that's just not going to happen. Let's be real.
No. I mean, one of the things that stands out to me in terms of kind of the push from a lot of these companies, Epic Games, Microsoft, Sony, Unity, all these different kind of companies within primarily the gaming industry, but I'm starting to see it in just all industries. Everyone's pushing for more monetization of things, but also exclusivity. Like you see it in Epic Games, you see it in Microsoft, like with the Xbox Game Pass. Sony. This is kind of push for this is only going to be on our platform, and again, circles back to bottom line. And I'm wondering if, well, at least I'm starting to wonder if the industry is starting to gear up for another crash like in the 80s. Or something similar, because people are gobbling up as much as they can, trying to pad those bottom lines and get reputable names associated with them. And I'm sitting here wondering, you guys can't be hurting for money that bad. I mean, the layoffs tell a story. And it's been across the industry. The layoffs tell a story. But I'm wondering if they're telling a story of an industry that's in decline, or an industry that's changing track. Maybe not even changing track, but I guess starting to be more open with the practice of, we've created something, we've pushed it out. Okay, now you guys that worked on it, you can get the fuck out, and on to the next thing, and on to the next thing.
I think it's more that route, because like gaming industry as a whole, I don't think it's declined one bit. Like it's, for as long as I've been alive, it's been growing. It's only considered to grow. It's only stayed growing. Like especially with the pandemic, gaming industry got a big boom from that because everyone was in their homes, and lockdowns are over. People are going back outside into public and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So there may be like some drop offs here and there, but like gaming has gone from that niche that only like the weird kid at school did, to just like everyone's doing it now.
Yeah.
I don't think it's in decline whatsoever. If anything, I'd say there are probably some growing pains in the industry.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, if it's an industry that's booming so well, and I know we've covered this a few times here in various aspects and from various angles. But if it's an industry that's continuing to grow, that's growing according to depending on who you talk to and kind of according to the numbers, it's supposed to continue to grow exponentially well into 2030. Why the layoffs? Why the manic? At least it seems like to me the manic grabs for these large studios and kind of the. I mean, let's put it this way: Microsoft is moving for monopolization.
Pretty much.
Which is, for those of you who don't know, that's illegal in the United States. Unless I'm wrong, Greg, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know all the nuance to those kind of laws.
Supposedly, there are laws against monopolization. There are loopholes around it, but yes, it is
and with
quote unquote illegal.
On the surface, it's supposed to be illegal, but I'm starting to get the feeling for what Greg said. It's more frowned upon.
It's like illegal parentheses because again, there are loopholes, and when corporations with a lot of money lobby the lawmakers, they can kind of get away with some stuff. I mean, hell, the Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard already got past FTC.
Yeah, got past the FTC. I mean, hell, even got past what's the European equivalent?
The CMA,
Country Music Awards.
Yeah, the Country Music Awards. So
Country Music, that's right.
And the FTC is exactly
them too.
Yeah, but the FTC is exactly the people who are supposed to stop that type of thing.
So
in the past, they have. Modern day, we'll see how much farther Microsoft goes, I suppose, and if the FTC plans to step in again.
You guys move way too fast for me. By the way.
I mean,
well,
no, go ahead.
I want to throw some numbers out there, man. I mean, I think we got there's plenty of information out there, and anybody can look this up.
On the board.
But when it comes to this money thing, and I'm going to give you my opinion on what's going on as well. But first, let's do the money thing, and please, people in the audience, if you have an opinion on this, let us know. And specifically what's been going on with the Microsoft, and now Disney's getting in there. We got, all these bigger companies that are gobbling up the smaller ones. Okay. Let's stick to Blizzard for a moment. So Blizzard, in the last 12 months, ending June 30th, 2023, has had revenue of $8.7 billion, which is up 14% over the previous year.
Jesus
so
Christ.
when you start talking about, are they hurting, or is it a company going? No, they're not hurting.
Not at all.
They're not hurting at all. That's not the issue. Now, my opinion as to what's going on. The climate is perfect, especially in this industry and across the board. The climate is perfect for acquisitions. And if you look at the history of it, every time our economy hits a stage where we go into a inflationary stage or recessionary stage,
which is where we're at,
you end up with the bigger dogs eating the little dogs. It's really what ends up happening. And that's what I think is going on right now. These guys are, and here's the thing. There's a boom bust cycle when it comes to the video game industry, in the sense that I'm stealing that term, but in the sense that you are going to have heavy,
no,
I'm still here, I think.
Yeah.
You're going to have heavy, head count. You're going to have heavy investment while you're in development for a project. Okay. So while you're in the development stage, you're going to have a lot of people. You're going to have a lot of investment going in. You're going to be spending a lot of money. You're going to be doing a lot of advertising as well. So the marketing piece has to go in there. Now, once you're through with the investment piece and you're ready to launch, what you end up with is they're going to start trimming back people because they don't need them anymore. All right. We've talked about this before, that cycle that's in there, and it's very unfortunate. And possibly not, I'm not going to say that it's not entirely not necessary, but I think it's just become par for the course. They're so used to being able to do it. Bring these people in and then just lay a bunch of them off. It's just become okay now. But it's not entirely a financial thing. They're going to tell you it is. Absolutely. And where it becomes a financial thing is, okay, look at some of these games that are out there right now. Let's just talk Cyberpunk 2077. All right, I think it was roughly, and I could be wrong, I'm just going to throw this number out there. I think it was roughly like $87 million that got put out there for the development of that game. Development, marketing. Now, there's been more since with, with further marketing, the expansion of Phantom Liberty, blah, 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 blah. But $87 million. That's a lot of money.
Okay, this is what I see right now. This is according to Wikipedia. Its total cost to develop and market, including updates and DLC, is reportedly over $436 million.
Okay,
is that just for Phantom Liberty or for the whole game? No,
this is like for the whole game, including updates and DLC.
Well, and it's Wikipedia, so it has to be right?
Yeah, let me see.
I'll do it with a grain of salt.
But yeah, I heard it on Wikipedia. It's got to be right.
I mean, that's why I specified.
Anyway, the whole thing behind that is the quicker they can recoup that investment piece. That's there's three primary, I'm going to say, stakeholders in this. You have the end consumer. That's all of us. We're the ones that are buying this game. We're the ones that want to play this game, and we have certain expectations. A lot of those expectations are built off of past performance and the marketing. What did they tell us the game was going to be like? Okay. So we deserve to have value for our money. And it's, we go out, we work, it's hard, or you know what I mean? We're making that money so that we can give it to these guys so that they can give us value. They can give us something that we want. Okay. Yeah. So we deserve to get something that we want.
Ideally,
value.
Yeah.
All right. Now, the company deserves to make a profit. Now, and here's why. If they don't make a profit, then they can't pay the bills. They can't employ people. They can't do, there's a lot of people that are connected to this thing that if that company's not making any profit, then those people are in jeopardy. They're all going to be harmed in some way. And then the third group of stakeholders is your investors, and they also deserve to make a return on their investment. Now, to be able to facilitate getting to that third group, the investors, and being able to give them a return on their investment, you have to reach that threshold. So if it's $400 million, then you've got to clear $400 million before you're able to begin to pay them. And it's important that all three of those parties get something out of the deal. That's very important. Your average gamer or person out there buying the product probably could give a shit less about that investor. But the fact of it is it's that investor taking the risk and putting up their hard-earned money that brought that game to you, ultimately in the end. It's right, they didn't all just do it out of the kindness of their heart. And just like you didn't buy the game out of the kindness of your heart. If you go buy the game and it's shit, guess what? You're not going to just drop that. I mean, that's, the days of social media, the first thing you're going to do is be out there talking, about, this game sucks.
Fucking crappy this game is, yeah.
what kind of garbage did they push on me? They ripped me off. So each step in that chain needs to get something from it. That's very, very, very important. Here's where the disconnect, I think, comes in. Number one is in the effort to hit that threshold and get a return for the investors, they end up looking at, okay, how much stuff can they cut? All right. And that generally is going to be people. Unfortunately, that's the primary expense. That's where most of your capital is going at that point. You've already spent all the money on the marketing. You've already spent all the money on the mechanics and the physical pieces of developing it. So that overhead's done. That's gone. The only controllable you have now is people, payroll. So you begin to reduce that. You draw that down drop payroll down so the burn is not as high and bring it down.
Mm.
Now, good or bad, it is what it is. Here's
in this comes with the industry.
Right. Well, and in this market, I just gave you the example. Blizzard, 8.7 billion. All right.
Jesus Christ.
They are not hurting. They are not hurting. Not at all. It's complete nonsense for them
now.
To be crying, oh, well, we're broke, we're this, well, whatever.
Yeah,
Bullshit.
We got to lay off people.
Bullshit.
Well, here's the thing. And then on top of that, $8.7 billion that they got last fiscal year, this past fiscal year, now they're also under the umbrella of Microsoft, and Microsoft has a very, very large coffer.
They do. Well,
that number's probably just going to keep on going up, especially under Microsoft.
So I'm going to get this last part out there really quickly. This is what I think is happening. Okay. I think, and I base this on a couple things, market trends and the escalation of the layoff, because the layoffs are huge, not just with this company, but many of these smaller studios included. They are really dumping that payroll. They are just dumping it. And I think what they're doing is because remember I said, right now, mergers and acquisitions, it really goes it's par for the course. We're in the perfect condition for this to happen. These guys are looking for, hey, let's fatten up the company, and there's our exit strategy. And that's an investor issue, yes, but it's also some of these CEOs and whatnot, which are actually getting, a compensation package out of it. But that's what they're doing. They fatten up the company. Basically, you drop as much overhead as you possibly can so you can boost those profit numbers and make it look nice and fat, this pretty little thing that these investors can buy, or this, Microsoft. Let's make this look like a gem. So Microsoft, who is right now predatory, they're out there trying to gobble up everything they can. Let's make ourselves look nice and fat and juicy so they'll buy us. That's what I think is going on.
Damn.
I mean, that could definitely.
That sounds so fucking sleazy.
I mean, that's honestly the.
But I mean, it's true
these days. Like,
and honestly,
a part of me thinks that. Go ahead, Rob.
No, I was going to say the sad part about it is, and I could be wrong, so I take this with a grain of salt. It always has been, and it seems to always continue to be, the Western gaming market, or the Western gaming industry, I should say, and market. I guess both go hand in hand, really. But I could be wrong. It could be overseas as well. But yeah, like this kind of this ebb and flow, this kind of eat dog situation just seems to that's just the Western market. And old man Garrus actually kind of brings up another good point. You're forgetting the real reason. Do unto others before they do unto you. If it's not Microsoft, then it's Sony, which is what they've been doing. Yeah, Sony's and again, we're picking on Microsoft because they're kind of the ones out in front right now, and have been, at least from my research, the most active in terms of just sucking in as much.
I think old man Garrus needs to.
Possible.
I think old man Garrus is asking for a disclaimer, so let's just give the disclaimer. Don't worry, Sony will get to you.
Yeah, we'll get to you. Don't worry about that. You'll fuck up.
So
Sony has its own. More, we'll get to you.
Sony has its own things. I think they've been the main one pushing for the $70 price tag on games.
Yeah, they have been. Which, here's the thing: I'm willing to pay $70 for a game if it's fucking finished. That is another thing that has been absolutely rampant within the gaming industry. Asking a premium price for an unfinished pile of shit, and this is across the fucking board.
Yeah, pretty much. Like,
what the fuck?
Because it's. I mean, if you think about it from a business perspective, why not release something? Like, if you got the deadline, you have your investors, they want this thing out. Why not release it then? Because you don't want to piss off your investors, because you don't want them to pull out their money. So you're going to have to release the game, and with current technologies these days, the internet, you can just fix it later. Like, it sucks for the players who, got hyped for a game, bought it on release, or maybe even pre-ordered it, and find
Mhm.
out that it it's broken as shit. We had a lot of that with the release of Cyberpunk 2077, in which they have managed to fix, but yeah. But like the but I mean, we live in a time where the technologies allow them to do that, and it's very easy to do that. You'll have games release and like they'll have a day one patch of like several gigabytes of data, and
Yep.
it's becoming normalized because it's possible, and it's
Well, it's becoming normalized because I will say this: we're part of the problem. We're very much part of that problem because we buy the shit. We
oh yeah,
allow them
like
to continue doing that.
yeah, like pre-ordering. Honestly, I like the companies love pre-orders because they're essentially getting people's
Guaranteed
money before
sales.
they've it's guaranteed
Yeah,
sales. They've gotten the money before they've even put out the product.
yeah, and in some
And
cases they even recoup the cost of production right there. Boom. We
yeah,
we
like
got we got we covered our overhead, and everything after that's profit.
yeah, like pre-order sales are honestly very important to a lot of games and how they kind of predict the success of a game. Like sometimes a company has decided whether or not the game is successful before it even releases, because they're looking at that pre-order sales,
Mhm.
and because it's people have already paid their money. Honestly, it doesn't matter what they put out. It's good if it's complete, but
Yeah.
they can put out the game in an incomplete state because they already have your money.
Yep.
And
We
so
already
like
gave us what we wanted.
yeah, and so like in that case, yeah, like the consumers are somewhat part of the problem. Like I don't like I've only ever pre-ordered one game in my entire life, and that was Skyrim back in the day. I pre-ordered it from a GameStop. And like
Remember those days, GameStop?
yeah.
Standing around line. Whew.
But like
Do not miss those.
yeah, but like you see all the time these days, you can pre-order something, but that doesn't mean you're gonna get a quality product at launch. A lot of times nowadays, I wait a bit before buying a game. Like I wait to see like YouTubers or streamers to play it to kind of see how it works and essentially get their first impressions of it. That's essentially how I get my reviews in.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't in modern day, I don't really trust uh
Like
a
the
lot of
big,
games.
like IGN and big name publications like that to give you an honest review. At
Yeah.
least I don't,
Yeah, like
because they're biased as fuck as well.
yeah, like the better version of that I think is early access games cuz yeah, you're buying it before it's fully released, but you can at least see what it looks like and you have an
Hmm.
expectation that it's probably not finished yet.
Yeah, I mean that's why Baldur's Gate was so fucking good at launch, because they were in early access for about 2-3 years. But all they were, I mean, Layer Studios listened to the community and were very much transparent in the production pipeline of that game.
Yeah. I mean,
A lot of studios are not like that.
yeah, I mean, and we'll call early access what it is. They're turning their consumer base into their beta testers essentially. I'm
Yeah,
sure they've
yeah,
still got their actual like beta tester teams because
yeah.
if
We're
it's
we're
your
free
job to
testers.
test the game, you're probably going to be playing the game differently from a consumer. Consumers just trying to play to have fun. A
Mm-hmm.
person paid to play test the game,
Just
depending
trying to break
on
it.
what exactly they're doing. Because especially if it's like quality assurance type of play testing, they're looking for bugs. But it's still
Mm.
a lot of like bug reports and stuff like that will be coming from their consumer base, and so that's what early access is. They outsource their good portion of their beta testing, and better yet, they don't even have to pay people to beta test it.
As a matter of
People
fact,
pay
we gotta pay
them
them.
to beta test the game. So
uh,
there's a couple murky waters in there, but I'll at least take it over the pre-order. If I'm gonna pay the company a price, I at least want something in my hands, as opposed to a promise that I'll have it in my hands at some future point in time.
And it'll be what I want.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what was the other? What's the other fiasco?
We haven't really
good old
talked.
Wizards.
Yeah, we haven't talked about Wizards of the Coast yet, and
Yeah.
we're getting to them.
We kind of dug. Well, I mean, we kind of dug into the Microsoft piece really, and the Blizzard, Activision, Epic Games. We covered lightly with the Metaverse deal. Hopefully that. Well, we'll see where that goes.
There wasn't a lot of
bit.
information to kind of come out with that one.
What?
Yeah, not a whole lot of information, but like, I'll say this now because like I like what Epic Games does with the Unreal Engine, but I don't entirely like Epic Games as a company because they've proven themselves to be very aggressive in the way that they approach businesses. They're when it comes because they also have their games marketplace, much like Steam does, but they are very aggressive at tying, especially indie games, into exclusivity deals. Like
it's kind of a heavier-handed version of like Sony and Microsoft with their Battle Pass and PlayStation Network, I think.
Yeah, like I know quite a few indie games I've enjoyed were locked behind the Epic Games wall for quite a while. Like exclusivity isn't always like forever. There could be timed exclusivity, but let's be honest, the launch of a game is its biggest moment.
Yeah, that's prime time right there.
Yeah, that's like when the news of it is coming out, people are excited for it. And so that's the biggest moment for it. So like Darkest Dungeon 2. That game was exclusive as long as it was early access. So in early access you could play it, but it was only on Epic Games. So I honestly didn't play it at the time until it fully released and came out on Steam finally. But again, like at release they're able to go to Steam. That's fine. Another game, and now that I'm actually thinking about that, I got confused with this next one for a second. I was gonna say Orcs Must Die 3, but no, they were a timed exclusive on Google Stadia of all things, not even Epic Games. So never mind that piece. Different company, but yeah, Epic Games has been notorious for forcing a lot of indies into exclusivity deals if they hope to put their game on their platform. They're very prone to that. And let's not forget the Epic versus Apple fiasco that happened, I think probably last year by now.
I think so.
And a quick rundown of that fiasco was mainly because of Apple's iOS store, where you put your mobile apps on, where Apple they take a pretty big cut of transactions made on their iOS store, a whopping 30%. So, and obviously a lot of people aren't quite happy about that because that's a huge cut. But Apple, their iOS store is it's very dominant on the mobile market. You don't have too many other alternatives to it, so they're going to charge whatever they want, essentially. So what Epic did with Fortnite, because Fortnite is also available on mobile devices, that they introduced a kind of service that would allow you to do transactions, but it would kind of go behind the iOS store, which broke their contract with Apple. So Apple said, "Hey, you aren't supposed to do that. We're taking Fortnite off of the mobile store, the iOS store." And Epic immediately launched a full social media campaign to fight back. And when I say they launched it that day, they launched it that day. They had things prepared. This was very much a fully calculated move on their part. They knew exactly what they were doing. They knew they were going to be breaching their contract with Apple, and they knew that Apple was going to remove them from the iOS store, the App Store. And they fully launched their social media campaign to fight back against that. That's the type of aggressive business that Epic Games is. And so seeing them go into the metaverse bit, I'm kind of reminded of those tendencies that like, yeah, they're gonna try to dive into this, and they're probably gonna force it as hard as they can. That's what I foresee.
Sounds to me like they seized upon an opportunity. I mean, there's publicity. There's really no such thing as bad publicity, because you are putting you look at, okay, WotC. Awareness of that business, of that company, has grown based on the bullshit they've done. And that's the thing that you got to look at there. I mean, it sounds to me like they just seized on an opportunity. Yes, they knew something bad was going to happen. Yes, however you feel about the transactional relationship between those two companies, it is what it is. If you agree to pay 30%, then you agreed to pay 30%, period. If it turns out that you can't, make ends meet on 30%, you're going to breach the contract, then you breach the contract. Okay, well, you accept the consequences for your actions, period. But that sounds like they saw an opportunity. I mean, this is going to be a bad thing. We're going to breach our contract with Apple, so let's just make sure that we are prepared to go all out on this immediately. We're going to make this bad for both of us versus bad for just us. Kind of sounds like maybe they made a smart move there. They protected themselves in an odd sort of way. I'm not really sure, why that would. I guess I don't really understand why you would feel that was all that bad of a thing. I mean, yeah, they were prepared and ready. Based on what I'm hearing, it sounds like they had their ad campaign all set, ready to go, ready to launch. They knew something bad was going to happen, and they walked into it prepared. How is that a bad thing?
I'm not necessarily saying it's a bad thing, because their main goal was to try to get Apple to lower the amount of revenue cut that they take, which 30% is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm mainly using it as a case to show how aggressive they are in the way that they go about things. Because to knowingly breach your contract and then already have a full ad campaign prepared the second that they get the repercussions of breaking their contract, that's an aggressive move. That's an aggressive strategy. You got to admit that.
No, I don't have to admit that. And the reason I say that, Matt, is just simply because if you know you're going to be in breach of contract, then you don't just sit back and allow it to happen. Oh, well, look what happened. Sorry about that. You go into that prepared because you know you're going to have to fight. And that's how that works. You don't just stumble into it. Oh, look, we breached the contract. You go into that ready to fight. I mean, if that's going to happen, I'm not saying it's a good thing at all, but you go into it ready to fight.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what they did.
That's aggressive.
Well, but that's just a smart business practice.
I mean, yeah. If you're going to break the rules, then
honestly, that's what it is. It's just a smart business. I'm not saying good or bad. They broke the contract. Okay, that's bad. Okay, I definitely would not, give them an A+ on that, or whatever, however you want to look at it. That's an F. But if they would have broke the contract and then turned around and said, "Oh, whoops. Okay, these guys are idiots and shouldn't even be in business. What the hell is going on here?"
Yeah.
But they went into it ready for the fight. That tells me, okay, well, I mean, they're serious about their business. They knew there was going to be a problem, and they prepared for it. So they were ready to go. They were ready to fight. And they were putting up a fight against Apple. I mean,
yeah,
that's the big dog.
Look, when it comes to any of these companies, I'm not a fan of Google, Microsoft, Apple. Fuck them all. Is that what I said?
And I'm not saying
Um,
Apple is a very predatory company when it comes to their dealings with vendors and other contractors. But what big company like that is not? And I'll name a few that are extremely predatory. Not even in the video game industry. The big one that most of us shop at all the time, Walmart, is horrible. Horrible. They leverage volume like you would not believe, and they make you eat pennies because they can. That's why they do it. Apple does the same thing. And, the whole thing behind, and I don't want to throw this out there as fact because I don't know, but the rumor is that they're still using child labor to produce product.
Cell phones? Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. Would not be surprised in the least.
You sometimes hear about that, like in
the least.
facilities overseas. And I know M&M's had a thing a while back. Mm-hmm. That's why they made the green M&M less sexy to try to distract people.
Are you serious? That was because
that it was a whole thing. Yeah, they.
we're not gonna go in there.
Yeah, that's a whole different can of worms to open. One we're not here to talk about today.
Yeah, but in terms of WotC, I mean, getting rid of Penguin Random House, that was a move.
Yeah. So for a little context, Random Penguin House.
Oh, okay. I thought we had already mentioned that. Oh shit.
Not today. We talked about it a bit in our podcast with Gasumba on Monday. But for those who weren't there for that, we'll give a little bit of context. So Random Penguin House was like the main distributor of Dungeons and Dragons books.
Like across the board.
Yeah. And Wizards just recently dropped them as a distributor. And that obviously has got a lot of people raising some brows about what Wizards is planning for their business model going forth.
Because you'd think after dropping their major publishing company, which not publishing, distributor, excuse me.
Yeah.
That Penguin Random House was, they would pick up someone else, and they did, kind of. They picked up themselves.
Yeah.
So WotC will now be its own publisher, developer.
No, not quite.
They're using Hasbro's.
Hasbro's. You're splitting hairs. Same shit in my book.
I mean, kind of. I mean, obviously, Hasbro owns Wizards, but I mean, Hasbro's does have a lot of that kind of infrastructure in already. So essentially, they were seeking to pretty much just make the distribution in-house instead of out-of-house.
Yeah, I mean, it circles back to, for me, it circles back to a couple of things. It circles back to raising their bottom line, recovering some of the lost share. How do I put this? Recovering some of the lost stock share profitability because their stocks have been plummeting.
Yeah, Hasbro. Their stock's way down recently.
And
I think
potentially,
like 40% almost,
something like that. And potentially, and this is a well-placed shot in the dark. Again, not fact, but I'm pretty sure this will probably happen at some point. Basically, now that WotC, for all intents and purposes, are their own distributor, one of two things or both are going to happen. They're going to start cutting back on physical copies of the game of Dungeons and Dragons in whatever form, typically the current one, and start pushing to the subscription-based VTT that they're trying to create. So again, circling back to that whole shit show, or, and this is probably, my opinion, what's probably going to happen in addition to more than likely the VTT situation. But if they decide to keep publishing physical copies, the price for physical copies are going to go way up.
Yeah, because
go ahead, Garrus.
Garrus, come on, man.
Run with it.
You've been waiting on this one.
Yeah, because Random Penguin House, obviously, as a distributor, they would buy the books from Wizards at a certain price, and they'd sell it to the different retailers for a certain price. So they have a big influence on the price at which Dungeons and Dragons are being sold at retailers.
Yeah.
And I believe a part of why Wizards dropped them is that they were Random Penguin House was leveraging pretty much their position as such a huge distributor for them to try to buy the books from them at a lower price than they were prior.
Yeah.
So Wizards didn't want to have none of that. But by cutting Random Penguin House out of the picture, and by using Hasbro's distribution facilities, I guess, they're taking that middleman out, essentially. So they don't have to buy, they don't have to sell to a distributor. They are the distributor, and so they're going to have, essentially, they're going to present the prices to retailers directly, and they have a lot more control over that.
Yeah, there won't be any negotiating power on the retailer's part. So, and the retailers aren't going to eat the cost of that, because again, the cost of distributing those books is going to go up.
Yeah, it's like
so we the consumer are going to, again, at the end of the day, be left holding the bag.
Essentially, and that's likely what's going to happen because we all know Wizards has been really moving to increase the monetization of Dungeons and Dragons. That's a big part of the VTT that they're creating, and this is probably just another part of that plan by pretty much gaining more control over the distribution. Because like random Penguin House, because they were such a big part, they could leverage essentially their collective bargaining power to buy the books from Wizards at a cheap price. Your retailers aren't going to have quite that same power.
Well, some will. Some will, like Target, Walmart. Some of those bigger ones will have some bargaining power at the table. But a lot of your local game stores, a lot of your smaller retailers will not. They'll just have to eat the cost, and they'll have to raise the price on their product. So instead of spending, well, how much is a player's handbook right now? And I'm not even talking about going to Amazon. That's another thing. They might actually go up on Amazon. Because on Amazon, I remember they were under like $30, but now
I believe a few months ago already, the price of a lot of books went up.
So they did.
From Old Man
So
Garrus.
you can get a player's handbook from Walmart right now for $27.40.
Okay, but the list price, the MSRP for a player's handbook, 5th edition, is $49.95. So imagine that going up $10, $20. The retailers aren't going to eat that cost.
Yeah, it's going to be passed on to the consumer. Now, from Old Man Garrus, is he typed out his essay. So here we go. So he says, cut a distributor, use your own facilities as the retailers. Use your own facilities as the retailers still need to carry the product equals more profit. Because, cutting out the middleman there. Convert your printed media with the audience you already have hooked into a digital method of access, which is
D&D Beyond.
Yeah, D&D Beyond. And add your now digital product to part of a subscription, even more profit. So, it's talking about the impact on the market. Yeah, can't compete with Walmart, Amazon, stuff like that.
Yes, Gemma.
Yeah, the ebooks are a thing, and that's definitely what they're trying to. That is one of the things that they're trying to push because, like, ebooks. Honestly, ebooks are. That's probably exactly what they want because, they don't have to produce an actual physical book. That's
exactly.
That's
Gemma, no overhead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you can't. And a person who buys one of those ebooks can't exactly like resell it. There's no used games for digital products. So if you want it, you got to get it from the source.
I was actually just about to say that, Garrus. piracy will be rampant in that part. Here's what I think is probably going to happen. And again,
oops,
and man, Streamlabs is really coming.
Rocking it tonight.
Yeah, I feel like we really gotta look at alternatives at this point. It's really been acting up lately.
Jesus. So with regards to exactly. That's what I was gonna get at. Old Man Garrus, they're gonna lock it behind D&D Beyond. They're gonna lock it behind that subscription. So if you want to get products, you're gonna have to pay them a subscription fee. And I'm sure they'll have ways where you can't like download it, or you can't, access the material unless you're logged into your account and have an active subscription, et cetera, et cetera. They're going to put safeguards in there to try to avoid piracy. Will piracy still happen? Of course, but they're going to do everything in their power to limit that. Can they afford to cut out Amazon? That is a good question, Gemma. That is a very good question. Maybe, because here's the thing that we've gone over before. When it comes to using D&D as the example, but that this is kind of across all TTRPGs. As a DM, I'm the only one that needs to buy, realistically, the Player's Handbook, the Dungeon Master Guide, and the Monster Manual. Those are the 3 core books that most DMs use to run D&D. I'm the only one who needs to buy that, and I only need to buy them once. And that's what they're trying to change, where now instead of having the book and playing the game or going on like Rolls20 and having the compendiums there like we do, we pay them once, we have them, that's it. Now to use those, you have to go to D&D Beyond, you have to subscribe, you have to pay $30 a month. So you have to pay $30 a month. You have to buy those books every month again to use them.
Yeah, pretty much. Because
so with that in mind, just to think about that, let's say 1 million players in D&D, million players across the world, $30 a month, every month, to play on their VTT, or to even just not even put the VTT in there, just to access the material to play the game.
25 if you pay for it for a full year.
The 25 you pay for a full year.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite that much for D&D Beyond, is it? No, don't have it.
Honestly, I haven't checked the price, but I think so. I think it's a sizable subscription. And again, that's right now. It when they implement their VTT, it's probably going to go up. And they're probably going to lock a lot of stuff behind that. Honestly, I don't even think they'll allow, like they're pushing it's either going to be a twofold approach. It's either they're pushing for a VTT of their interactive VTT, all nice and shiny, to push out things like Roll20, Foundry, Alchemy, those virtual tabletops, and a place to put all of their stuff digitally locked away, where if you want access to it, you got to pay for it every month. And they're looking to cut out the middlemans for whatever they keep physical copies of. So if they decide that, hey, they're going to do a 2-pronged approach, they're making as much bang for the buck on both sides, cutting out the middleman in terms of Penguin Random House for the physical product. So now we got to pay more as a consumer, because the retailers are having to pay more to get the product, and then the virtual tabletop and subscription fee coming from D&D Beyond.
Yeah, and this thought just crossed my mind, because considering this new type of business model they're going in for, and how much more, I guess, control that Wizards would have over the content, and how much of it is really even in the player's hands. What does that mean for supplements for D&D? Because obviously they'll probably incorporate their own in-house ones, but when it comes to someone
like you
from
say,
the
like
fan
Cobalt
community,
Press.
their own modules or adventures, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, like Cobalt Press. You got the Legends of Evantris, who are coming out with their own stuff. Yeah, you got some of these studios. who are coming out with their own modules. And to answer your question, Matt, I don't know. Honestly, at this point, I think most studios are at a point where if WotC continues wherever it is they're going, they just won't make stuff for the new edition. I can see that happening. I can see most people being like, you know what, fuck the new edition, fuck 1D&D or whatever the fuck they're calling it. We're not going to do that. We'll continue to make stuff for 5th edition.
Yeah,
like I've already heard from a lot of different content creators on YouTube that I watch that, you know, a lot of them, they're like, hey, or even not just them, but a lot of folks are like players, like long-term DMs are like, hey, I've already got all of 5th edition stuff, you know, all the stuff that I want. I got 4th edition, I got 3rd edition. We don't talk about 4th, never mind. I got 3.5. You know, I got all of that stuff. I can just convert.
Yeah, and
so that's what might happen.
Yeah, and Old Man Garrus, you make a pretty good point of like that these people, you know, fan supplements, you know, these other studios make. Wizards wants to capitalize on that because right now they don't make any money from those guys, and so I think because of that, what I foresee involving the VTT is that there's probably going to be some sort of application process to get your content
on there. Yeah.
On there, which then putting it even further, it's
virtual tabletop, Gemma.
Virtual tabletop.
Yeah. And, like Rolls20 essentially. Rolls20, Foundry, there's a couple of them out there.
Yeah. And so they'd have to apply to put their stuff onto onto the VTT. And then I imagine the players would have to access them by going through the VTT and essentially paying for access to the product, making Wizards essentially the new middleman to control the transactions.
Well, it's
so
basically
they're going to take their cut.
That's basically the system right now. That is basically the system right now when you're dealing with VTT, any of the platforms that are out there. That's the system right now. Where I mean, there's you don't just, hey, I'm designing this, I'm gonna throw it up on your platform. You have to submit and apply to get your product on there.
And the company like Rolls20 will take their cut.
Yep, they will. And a lot of these virtual table. Drive-through. Drive-through takes a heavy ass cut, from what I understand. I know a couple. I don't have product. We don't have product at Thunder, but I know a couple people that do, and they take a sizable chunk. Yeah. So.
And here's. Go ahead.
And I can't imagine that Roll20 doesn't take a sizable chunk too. But it's the same. Here's the thing with this. All right, sizable chunk or not. Here's the deal. You're only making it one time. So you're making whatever it is that you're making once, and you're selling digital copies of it in perpetuity. And you're making your little chunk off of how many ever, you know, if you sell 1 million copies, I mean, there's no more work that goes into it other than, you know, the shipping piece to it, which if, you know, that's fairly easy, but it's not like you're continually making a product over and over and over. You're not, every time somebody orders, you got to go make it for them. No, it's all done. It's all made. And since there's no physical to it, they're just downloading it from the website. So you're at that point, unless you're continually right, exactly. Unless you're continually trying to market it, I mean, you're going to make money on that. And that's the whole beauty of that system. From a business standpoint, obviously.
And here's the thing, I want to reiterate this. From a business standpoint, I get it, totally understand. You know, you want to, you know, these folks are using your system, as Old Man Garrus said. He's like, you know, they're using the SRD, and creating content that is built off the back of the Dungeons and Dragons system. Roger that. So, I mean, you can argue either way. Does WotC deserve to get a cut of it? Do they not? Considering the OGL is, I believe it's common creative license now. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure it's common creative license, which means, as far as I understand that situation, it's now out there in the world for anyone to use, more or less, with some caveats, I'm sure. So with that in mind, does WotC deserve to get a cut of your profit? If you're the one who put in the work, yeah, it's based off of their system, but you put in the work to create whatever content it is you decided to make for the 5e system. With that Creative Commons situation in play, do they deserve to make a profit off of, or a cut of your profits based off of that? You can argue that either way. You can argue yes, you can argue no. From a business standpoint, I understand why WotC's kind of moving towards the road that they're moving, again, to kind of recoup some of their costs, or to get back some of that money that they're losing to competitors that are using their system. I get that.
Yeah. Yeah, like I don't think it's wrong that Wizards gets a portion of something, because yeah, people are making supplements using D&D systems in all of that. It's not like for video games you're making free mods or anything like that.
Yeah,
because the mod makers, I guess depending on how they're running their ship, most aren't making money. They just make it and they put it out there.
Yeah, it's a labor of love for a lot of them.
Yeah, that's a labor of love. But people who are, very much charging for these supplements, yeah, it makes sense that Wizards should get a certain cut of that pie. I guess the main point of contention is how exactly they're taking a piece of that pie and how much.
Jesus Christ, Amazon takes 70% off the top? Is this like, because I remember you, yeah, Gemma was telling me that because she's a publisher, or she's published a couple of books, or a number of books actually. So wait, so Gemma, I just want to clarify the 70-30 split. I'm assuming Amazon do they take 70% or 30% in the, I guess that you as a creator would say with 70? Because if they take 70%, what is even the purpose of fucking publishing with them?
Amazon takes 30,
what the
70% and 30 to the publisher. Oh my goodness!
So well, hold on. Okay, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Gemma, but what I believe she's talking about is the margin piece on that. So their margin on that published product is 70%. So she's getting 30%, basically the overall cost. So if it costs $10, she's selling it to them for $3, and they're selling it for $10, and they get $7. $70% of your total profit. Okay.
Jesus okay. That's intense. And Old Man Garrus, Twitch's 70-30 split was actually split the other way, where
is it?
The streamer was getting 70% of like the sub money, and Twitch got 30, which is why it was a big deal when they announced that they were pretty much getting rid of that 70-30 deal and everyone was going to a 50-50.
Okay.
So same proportions, just flip the other way. But yeah, they're going back on that 70-30. Deal. They don't offer it to any new streamers. I think there's still a few around who have kept that deal, but yeah, they're not giving it out to anyone new.
Yeah, Gemma, but like Gemma says, but like you said, if you sell 100,000 copies, that's still $30,000. True, that's still $30,000 because of the reach that you have with Amazon. And yeah, okay, that's digital, not print. Print is different. Okay, that's fair, but still, that's steep. Jesus fuck. But to kind of scroll back a little bit to a comment that Old Man Garrus put out there. He said, but this is in relation to WotC. He says they're working on 5.5 and it's due out next year. Yeah, that is correct. 5.5 is due out 2024. Don't know exactly when. I think they're probably shooting for Q2, roughly. But don't quote me on that. And then, and they don't need to have the OGL available as it's a new version. Exactly. Yeah. The only thing that is kind of under the current OGL, I believe, is only 5th edition and back. Everything after that will probably under some new OGL that they'll probably put out at some point before the new version comes out.
This piece. So digital copies is what you're talking about, and yeah, that's so they're charging a 70% royalty fee, basically.
That is steep.
But again, you only have to write it once. I mean,
yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah, you don't have to worry about storage or anything like that. You write it, you publish it, and they download it. Yeah, that's true.
No delivery fee. Oh, okay. And there is a price breakout to it. I guess it's a lower percentage on lower priced books, like $2.99. Below $2.99 or above $9.99. 35% royalty option. 15 cents per megabyte transfer. That's like bullshit. That's on top of your 70%. You're going to hit us for 15 cents per megabyte.
Amazon folks.
I have an Amazon seller's account. I've just never used it to sell anything. So it's wow, that is definitely highway robbery. But you're right, Gemma. I mean, that's the thing is you can it's a method of self-publishing, and it's not it's not cost prohibitive. I mean, you're basically creating the product, you're putting it up there for Kindle, and then people are just downloading the product. And, you only produce it once, and then you just keep getting paid. You're essentially accepting a 30% royalty on the product. But yeah, you sell 100,000 copies at $3 a piece. That's $300,000. I mean, it's not a bad deal. It is. You're right. Huge amount of exposure. So, for WotC and the books, the publishing piece, we've kind of skirted around that. We've talked a lot about the VTT and the digital download piece to it, which you guys had a lot of ideas, and I don't know.
Yeah, this is recent news. What they said, they announced that like earlier this week, so. It'll be a little bit of time to see how exactly that move plays out and what exactly their strategy is going forward.
So I want to go here. You think they're going to stop printing copy?
No, I don't think they're going to stop.
So. I don't think so.
I mean, I do think the price of the physical books are going to go up, and as for like the volume that they put out, I don't know, that's a toss-up, because if they really wanted to push the VTT as much as possible, they would lower the volume that gets put out of their physical copies.
So kind of do a Sony, PlayStation, Microsoft, Xbox thing where you limit the production run to only so many, so you can keep the price high and keep the demand high.
Essentially, artificial scarcity. I wouldn't put it past them, honestly, to do something like that, especially now that they're in the pretty much sole power of the distribution. They could produce all the books they want and just essentially just kind of drip feed them out.
Well, the small hobbyist stores would be tremendously hurt by that. Garrus, do you agree with that? I think that would be just awful for their business because.
And honestly, that's kind of for me. That's the biggest. That's why I'm as upset as I am, because I mean, I'm not worried about the Walmarts and the Targets. I'm worried about the small mom and pop.
Resellers would love it.
Oh yeah, resellers would.
Yeah, definitely.
They can make bank off of that.
Oh yeah, God, you're gonna get so many scalpers.
First day one, you would have people waiting. Even the little hobby stores, you'd have people waiting at the door for your truck to show up so they could buy all your copies immediately.
Mm-hmm.
There's
$100
There's
a
that.
pop. They'll buy them from you and take them and put them on eBay for 500.
Yeah, I mean the common thing that you see these days, and this happens a lot with, like, say, the PS5s, is that when a website puts things on sale, the scalpers are going to have bots monitoring the site. So the moment things go on sale, they gobble them all up. Like, if you an actual, I know there were stories in the PS5, scalping days when it was a bigger problem than it is now. Is that I remember hearing stories about people talking about how they were waiting for, like, when it would turn midnight, when that sale would start.
Mm-hmm.
It turns midnight, they try to click in for it, and then already out of stock.
Gone. Yeah,
Because the
already
bots
gone.
can make those massive amounts of purchases far faster than a person can for even one.
Mm-hmm.
And so even if you try your best,
Scalping
things-
scalping is just a piece of the marketplace at this point. That's what's happening. I mean,
unfortunately, yes, it is very, very unfortunately. And if Wizards does kind of go towards a route of artificial scarcity for their books, then we could very much be seeing a very similar situation.
I like
Probably not on a scale.
Garrus's idea is to pre-sell on eBay. So that's an option.
It definitely is, and I don't think it's going to be on the same scale as the PS5 bit, because that was a new console is always very anticipating, and there are people scrambling for those. I don't think the I guess demand would be as high for D&D books, especially since there are already a lot of them out there. But I do kind of foresee a similar situation on a lower scale. It happens now for Magic the Gathering. Yeah.
The resale market is extremely powerful on some of these products. The newer products, you don't necessarily get that same deal. See, that marketplace. Okay, so eBay, once upon a time, when the first rollout of that marketplace was more or less like a giant online garage sale. But since then, it has been dominated by resellers. And essentially that's what happens, is these people go and scavenge whatever they can scavenge. Sometimes, a lot of times it's new product. But they'll buy in bulk, or they'll buy it for whatever. They'll buy it for the face value of the product, and then turn around and sell it on eBay for twice as much. If you go and look, I frequent eBay quite a bit just to kind of look and see what things are selling for, and I'm a collector. So right now, a copy of the original, and I just looked this one up last night, copy of the original Wheel of Time rulebook for the RPG. Okay.
I forgot there was a Wheel of Time RPG. Yeah.
Right. You can get a used copy. I mean, like, used copy. Definitely been used copy. For around $50-$60. It's about $20 over the list value. Now, it came out in like 2001. So, I mean, you got a little bit of that going on as well. But if you want a nice new copy of that, not like brand new, they're all used, but in very good shape, you're talking $125 to $150 for a $35 book.
God damn. Yeah, that's wild.
It's no longer in print, so that's one thing, but
yeah. Scarcity, yeah. I didn't know they had a Wheel of Time.
Oh, there's issues. I collect the Dragon magazines, and there's issues of Dragon magazine out there that are like $400 or $500. So that's a $3.50 magazine. So obviously it's not published. You know what I mean? It's not being published anymore. So I mean there's that. But up to consumer products and people just selling them on these Well, that's a really, really good point that's there in, some of the things societally that we've had go on over the last few years. You get a lot of that stuff that happens too, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, this is a lot of it working on the just an assumption that they might go for an artificial scarcity on physical copies. I mean, that's just a speculation.
Well, controlled
We'll see if that happens.
artificial scarcity or controlled release would be what allows them to raise the price. That's because, we agree on that piece right there, Matt. I think you're right that the price is going to go up. But the way you make that work, you don't just raise the price. If that's all you do is just say, well, we're just going to, we've always printed 10 million copies. We're going to print 10 million copies and we're going to bump the price $20 a copy. Yeah, that's not going to work. It's not how that works.
They got to create a reason for that price to go up.
Exactly. And the reason is a mental reason, because the person is going to go to their local hobby store to get the copy of their book, knowing that, hey, you know what? We get this delivery on Friday. So they're going to go down there on Friday thinking, hey, my book's going to be in. Yeah, it costs $80, but, I really want the book. They get there, no book. Suddenly that $80, you're now justifying the cost because everybody wants it. That's why there's none at the hobby store. That's not why there's none at the hobby store, but that's the mentality of it. Same thing happens every time there's a new Xbox, every time there's a new PlayStation. Any of those game machines, they do limited run after limited run, and what it does is it creates that environment of scarcity. So your local Walmart's only going to get 1 or 2 machines, maybe 3 if it's a really high volume store. But that's why they can get $500 out of each one of those machines, is because there's only 3 of them.
Yeah. Garrus says, ask Games Workshop about all that. Yeah, that's very much the way Games Workshop does. Like, I think anyone who's really into the Warhammer and stuff like that, they're kind of aware of how pretty much overpriced a lot of stuff coming out from Games Workshop is. It's an expensive hobby to do Warhammer.
Don't call it plastic crack for nothing.
Yeah. So, and yeah, Games Workshop there. If I remember right, Games Workshop is kind of like how, and you guys can correct me on this, but they kind of do the same thing where they are their own distributor essentially, right? Or am I wrong on that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Games Workshop publishes and distributes all of their own stuff. They have they even have official Games Workshop stores where it's nothing but Warhammer stuff, whether it be Warhammer Fantasy or 40K.
And
they have their own
retail locations.
Yeah,
that's another part. So, yeah, it does seem likely that Wizards may be going down a very similar path. It seems like they're really setting up for it.
Yes, they are. And again, it's hard. It's difficult because, from a business standpoint, you get it. You don't have to be a business savvy person to understand. It's okay. I get this. It just the way they're going about it. It's so heavy-handed and scummy. Scummy.
Yeah. I've got an optimistic viewpoint on that whole thing, because yes, you're right, and right now, D&D is the gateway system into role playing, or it has been traditionally for a very long time.
Yeah, it definitely is.
But this approach that they're taking with potentially taking with their business model is going to tremendously open that up for smaller groups, for new product. And I think you see exactly that, starting out with the OGL issues starting at the beginning of the year. I think you see that opportunity is there for these smaller publishing companies to move in and be able to fill a void that's being created.
Oh yeah.
And the market has been
no doubt.
and the market has been highly receptive to it so far, and you can see that through like some of the more recent Kickstarters that have launched with some of these, small groups that are, that up until now they've been basically Twitch streamers, and that's it. You know what I mean? And suddenly they launch a game, and the very first game they launch has a $2.4 million Kickstarter. It's like,
oh yeah.
you
have a lot of games, and it's not just like other games or even like supplements to D&D itself that are blowing so far past their original goals. Because I mean we've talked a lot about how D&D has grown a lot in recent years over some of the exposure they've gotten, like there's a D&D movie, there's Baldur's Gate, there's just also like the pandemic gave a lot of people exposure to role playing. So you have a large influx of people who are looking to essentially role play. And D&D's decisions, they've pushed several creators away who are now making their own thing. They've put out somewhat lackluster content themselves over the past couple of years, so that when you have these other people not associated, whether it's making supplements to D&D or making a new game, people are starved for good content,
right?
And they're willing to pay the money for it.
Nope, I agree with you 100%.
And yeah, so I think that is kind of like the silver lining to Wizards fuckery, I guess, that it's by I guess boiling it down, by ruining it for themselves, they're creating room for others to come in and provide what the customers really want to see, what they really want to experience.
I think the verdict is still out on whether it's truly ruining it for themselves, though.
Well,
because
okay, maybe not ruining, like as in they're going to fail as a company,
Mhm.
but they're definitely pushing people away with a lot of these decisions.
Well, yeah, they've definitely put, they are not looked upon favorably right now in the marketplace. But I think it's still to be seen how that actually works out for them in the long run.
Yeah, like obviously D&D is still very much at the top of the game for tabletop role-playing games.
Yes.
Like even with the controversy that they've been getting lately, there's still no one that really comes close to rivaling them. Like you have your Pathfinder, you have your Cyberpunk Red, and they're popular, but they're not D&D popular. They're not that big. And so, yeah, they can honestly afford to lose a good number of people and still stay on top. And with the new monetization that they introduce, they're with the people that remain, they're probably going to continue making more money. I just repeated myself from exactly how we were talking about like Activision Blizzard.
Yeah,
It's a very similar thing.
They're still gonna have their audience.
And there's a lot of new games coming out, and there's a lot of new content that's coming. Pazio has definitely got new stuff coming out. Free League Press, lot of new stuff coming out.
Oh yeah, definitely. The Pirate Borg,
right? Artel Saurian games. Mike Pondsmith, Cody Pondsmith, and the crew there have been working on some really good stuff that is, it's due to release. I think one of them maybe just did, it's due to release later this year. There's some new content that they're producing right now in relationship to Cyberpunk that is also going to be released, which should be ready around GaryCon, I think.
So about March next year.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
I mean, honestly, Matt, I think I agree with what you said. There are a lot of studios out there coming out with new stuff, and I think it's not necessarily just folks want new stuff. I think folks are starved for quality interactions with the quality studio.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
what I
exactly.
mean by that, like they're looking for people that not only give them value for what they're paying for, but are just give them value outside of just the product. They're looking to build that community with the studio, and that used to be there with WotC, and I will argue that to a degree it's still there for folks that I guess bought into the WotC culture. Some who wear the rose tinted glasses, they're still there. But I think players are starved for that, to be able to kind of collaborate with a studio that pays attention, that listens, that values them as the consumer of their product. And we've seen that time and time again. Industries, companies are not doing that anymore. And I know we probably sound like a broken record to some of our viewers, because we've talked about this before, and it I don't know, it's like I'm starting to think we the one of two things: either these people are like, these companies are just brain dead, or we might be the stupid ones for not seeing something they're seeing.
I mean, honestly, I can see why they're doing what they're doing, because again, like their main concern is profitability. And honestly, who cares if you lose a couple people if you're making even more money from the people that remain? Because you could have us end up having a smaller customer base, a smaller community, but if you're getting more money from each person, then that's really all that matters.
You're probably making up the difference there.
So, like,
Potentially.
a lot of these decisions that they make, they know they're gonna piss a lot of people off. They know they're gonna lose people, but it's
Yeah.
about they've weighed the risk versus reward. They know they're risking losing a lot of people, but they're weighing it against the reward of how much money are they going to pull in from the people that stay.
Yeah.
And that's the tactic, and we see a lot of companies, they're very much pushing that risk reward structure. How many people are they willing to piss off, and how much more on the monetization are they willing to push?
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing that all over the place right now.
Yeah. And honestly, I think that's kind of what we're seeing. We're seeing a huge push for monopolization. Greed. It's exactly what that is. We're seeing huge pushes for monopolization, monetization. In various forms. Trying to eke out every penny they can from every which way they can. And again, I'm starting to wonder if this is going to lead to a crash in the industry. And maybe not a full-blown crash, like we saw back in the 80s. But I feel like this situation, and if it continues to move in the direction that it's moving, it's going to come to a critical mass across the industry, and we're going to see some shakeout from this. And honestly, I think it's going to be good. It's going to it has the potential to force those larger companies to start rethinking stuff, like seriously rethinking their practices. But it also gives some traction and some leverage to smaller up and coming studios, like what it did in the 80s. Because for those of you who don't know your history, Blizzard, EA, Activision, those are studios that came out of the game crash of the 80s and became what they are now. So I'm wondering if we're going to see something like that in the very near future. I personally hope so, to an extent, because we might see those larger studios take a look at themselves and be like, hold on, we kind of drifted off course here. We might need a course correct. Maybe, likely not, but maybe. We can hope. But I see more specifically in my mind's eye a lot of up and coming studios making their mark and becoming those old school Blizzard, the old school Activision, the old school Bungie. Those studios that really gave a shit.
Yeah.
And in giving a shit, they became the behemoths they are now because they put out quality product. They engaged with the audience. They cared about the audience, which led them to the giants that they are now.
Yeah, and that we're seeing one example of that in Larian Studios. because
Yeah.
I mean they've been consistently putting out good games, and they're growing every time.
Hmm.
Like from the first Divinity Original Sin to Divinity Original Sin 2, and now with Baldur's Gate, I mean that's what's really brought them into the limelight. Baldur's Gate 3,
Yes.
and now like everyone knows who they are essentially. While before, like Divinity Original Sin 2, it was a fairly popular game, but I wouldn't say like everyone knew what it was. But that's changed, and yeah, Larian is definitely they very well could end up as, in the next coming years as one of the big dogs.
Maybe.
Because I mean, I
I
know,
certainly hope so.
yeah, I mean, I know from what I've heard, their next project they've already kind of said it's not going to be on the same scale as Baldur's Gate 3. Which I mean, let's be honest, Baldur's Gate 3 massive scale for what they are. And they did it very well. It's impressive, but it also took a long time to make. But again, they have that big sterling reputation right now, and obviously a lot of capital coming in from Baldur's Gate 3. I mean, we'll see how that company goes from here on out. They could be one of the big dogs in the coming up.
Could be. Very much could be. And again, I'm really, really, really hoping so, because we need something like that. We really do, in the industry. It's not good, man. It's not good the direction it's going. Both from a consumer perspective and from an industry perspective, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I agree with both those, which is why honestly sometimes it's nice just to be playing indie games, because a lot of them are like that, where you don't have you don't really expect a lot of the same bullshit. They may not be as big as like the games may be smaller than a lot of the AAA ones from the big companies, but I'd say in a lot of them you definitely get bang for your buck. And yeah, a lot of indie games you don't really have to deal with all the microtransactions and shit like that. It is a breath of
Win-win.
fresh air very often.
Yeah, it's a win-win, man.
Definitely. Like I brought up Chained Echoes before. Really great indie game. I got a lot. The game was a lot longer than I was expecting it to be. I got a lot of playtime out of that.
Got a lot of
And
value for your money.
oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, that is good to hear, man. Because too often we're getting stuck with half-assed, unfinished stuff. Yeah, there's a lot going on in the industry, guys, and we're gonna do our best to keep you guys up to date and informed on it, and stay up to date and informed ourselves, because this is, I mean, for obvious reasons, this is important to us as a small studio. But I think because all three of us here are gamers as well, we're players, we're role players. You know, we love the content, and the last thing I think anybody here wants to see is for this shit to go back to what it used to be back in the day, when it was a very niched thing. You know, kind of something you did with your nerd friends.
Well,
I mean,
think it's
I
ever
didn't
gonna
mind
go
it. I
back
didn't
there.
care. I personally didn't give a shit.
right.
Yeah.
I don't think that is, I don't think we're going to return to like 1984. But
When D&D was for the devil.
but I don't foresee that happening. But
No.
it definitely it just comes down to what is the impact in the marketplace for the end consumers. That's really what it comes down to. And across the board right now, there's so many things that are shifting. Some the big names are making a lot of big changes. That means there's a huge opportunity for up and coming. And, there's a lot of different small publishers that are out there. Some of them we're connected with. Some of them we just know of. Troll Lord Games is one. Which is a group that's a small publisher. They have some of their own games. They also work with other creators. Free League Press, not necessarily a small publisher, but not huge in the United States just yet. But they, again, they're very open to working with other creators as evidenced by their games lineup. So there's a lot of opportunity for creators that are out there creating good product, to break into this market. And it's a market that has traditionally been really tough to break into. People have found, in recent years, people have found an opportunity to actually make money or maybe even make a living doing something that they really enjoy due to the advent of the VTTs, the virtual tabletops, such as Roll20 and those things that Drive-Thru RPG, Kickstarter, which isn't a VTT, but I mean, it's an opportunity for people to sell their ideas. And it's forcing change in the marketplace, especially in the tabletop RPG world, the story world. It's forcing change. And I think it's good. I think it's a good thing because it really does open up now's the time to crack into that marketplace. If you have a product, if you know your market, you've developed a good product, you're ready to share the product, now's the time. Get out there. Do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for those of you guys who might know the name, Timothy Kane, who is the co-creator of Fallout, he actually has a YouTube channel. I've been watching a couple of his videos, and obviously as someone who's created one of the most well-known IPs in the world, he's like, now if you want to create games, now's the time to do it. Whatever game you're creating, whether it's TTRPG, whether it's a video game, now's the time to do it. It's the industry is growing, and I think Matt, you kind of hit on this way earlier in the stream. Growing pains. The industry is definitely going through some growing pains, and I think it's only going to get better and worse in some cases. But now's the time to get out there, folks. If you always wanted to put some out there, put some together, do it. You got the tools at your fingertips. You got the knowledge at your fingertips. You just got to go out and do it. But that is, I think that is it for us tonight. We talked a lot about about the industry, good, the bad, the ugly, as always. Thank you guys again for joining us tonight for episode 24 of the Update Log. As always, I'm Rob, your host, and these are Matt and Greg, two co-hosts. Hopefully you guys had a good discussion with us. Hopefully you guys learned some. But with that is it. But a couple housekeeping things. Greg, anything for our audience?
Absolutely. So make sure we do also do a live play game. Right now it's every Friday night. We are going to be shifting that to Thursday nights starting next week. So not this week. And we have a Cyberpunk game that goes on. That's the Friday game. Yep. We are also going to be adding an Alien game as well. Very, very well in 2 weeks. So we'll have both of those games going on, both live play games. We do a more of a theater of the mind style, so it's more story based. The Cyberpunk game is definitely straight off it's Cyberpunk Red. We just don't do the visuals with it. We just do it as theater of the mind. The Alien game is going to be very heavily story based. Part of that is the system itself, so come check that out with us. And more to come in the future.
Yes, indeed. For us, no special guests coming next week. as of yet. If that changes, you guys will be the first to know. Again, join our Discord. Link is in the chat to keep up to date with everything coming out of the channel, whether it be our upcoming games or the update log. You can also talk to us directly, ask your questions, pitch ideas for topics. Just come hang out. But yeah, that's it for us tonight. You guys have a good night.
I'm pretty sure everybody here is already following us, but if you have not followed us on Twitch, then please take care of that right now. Give us a follow, and we'll welcome you back. Outside of that, we are going to raid into Stormy B tonight. He is playing, I am envious, he is playing Cyberpunk 2077. I'm imagining Phantom Liberty. So we will raid over to him and check and see what he is doing.
All right.
Everybody
awesome.
have
you guys
a
have a good
fantastic night.
Yep. See you guys next time.
Yep.
And
Adios.